There are some troubling signs on the issue of Medicare and Social Security to discuss here. So journalist Art Delaney explains, the Republican congressman whom Trump appointed to run his budget office thinks the president will come around on these programs. Mick Mulvaney, director of the Office of Management and Budget, told conservative radio host Hugh Hewitt on Monday, quote, I think people are starting to grab it. Which, by the way, pause because has a hilarious sexual angle to it, but I digress. I think people are starting to grab it. I bet they are. There are ways that we can not only allow the president to keep his promise, but to help him keep his promise by fixing some of these mandatory programs. He's talking about not cutting Social Security, Medicare. He says, help him keep his promise by fixing some of these mandatory programs. Fixing is the word he uses. I know the national narrative is we're not going to do anything on mandatory spending. But I think really what this president is interested in doing is not affecting the benefits for folks and saving these programs long term. I think there's a way to do that. All right, so here we go. Whenever a Republican comes along talking about saving Social Security and Medicare, fixing Social Security and Medicare, reforming Social Security and Medicare, automatically replace those words in your mind with either cut, because that's what they're talking about, cut those programs, or privatize, which is also, by the way, it would effectively become a cut. So either way, they're cutting the program. They talk about cutting the program. Fixing it, reforming it, saving it, all nonsense. Because when you look at their ideas are, for example, raise the retirement age. Well, if you raise the retirement age, you're robbing the American people. Let's be clear. These are earned benefit programs. I hate that people call them entitlements because they're not entitlements. Well, I mean, they are entitlements, but they're called entitlements because you are entitled to them. People frame it as like, it leaves the impression or the implication that you're getting something you're not owed. No, it's the exact opposite. You're getting something you're owed. You paid into Social Security your entire life, so you're getting back what you're owed. But earned benefit is a better way to talk about it because then people hear the word earned and they go, oh, well, they earned it. So if you cut it, you're taking away what somebody earned, which means you're a thug and you're the robber. Now, aren't you, Mr. Republican politician or the government? So they're working on it and they're trying to convince Trump. And man, I hope they don't succeed, but I think they might succeed. Now, why do I say that? Because Trump has just unbelievably fast folded on other issues. So, for example, there was the thing with Bernie Sanders. He proposed that amendment to import drugs from Canada, pharmaceutical drugs, and we instantly cut the price of some of these drugs in half, sometimes more. And some corporate Democrats voted against it. But Trump had been on the, doing rallies talking about, oh, yeah, they're screwing you. The pharmaceutical companies are getting away with murder. But then when Bernie Sanders proposed that, not a peep from Trump. Well, what happened, buddy? I thought this is exactly what you were talking about and the exact kind of legislation you'd want. Well, come to find out, like a week later, he went into a meeting with big pharma lobbyists. He walked out of the meeting and just totally flipped his position. He had gone from the pharmaceutical companies are getting away with murder, how dare they, we're going to cut the cost of drugs, whether they like it or not. And then he was walking out of the meeting saying, Medicare, they're robbers. They want to screw over these poor companies by, paying them not enough for the drugs. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen. So all it took was 2 or 3 smooth-talking lobbyists for him to go, oh, you're right, here's my ass, put it in, please. What a fucking bitch he is. And he's a child. He can be manipulated pretty easily. I mean, that's what happens. Whisper something that sounds vaguely, remotely, somewhat convincing, even if it's utter bullshit, and is tremendous. It's the last thing I heard, so I'm going to act on it. So now the people who want to privatize Social Security are saying, man, we're working on him, and he can come around. And if they frame it, and they will, as, no, we're not cutting it, Don. We're not cutting it. You like the private market, right? I like the private market. You don't like the government, right? I don't like the government. Well, wouldn't you want these people to make the same amount of money, get the same amount of money from Social Security or Medicare, or even get more money from Social Security, or even get better care in Medicare? Well, why not move towards privatizing it and reforming it and fixing it for the long term? Oh my God, his pussy would be wet hearing that. He'd be like, oh, tremendous. Let me just tell you that. Let's do that. Because it's not cutting it. It's not cutting it. It's doing it's fixing it. Like you said, it's reforming it. And then we'd all be fucked. Look, Social Security is fully solvent until 2037. And then after 2037, it pays out 87% of its benefits. Now, the way that the media covers this is maddening. Because, for example, even the article on fucking Huffington Post, far left, progressive, liberal Huffington Post, even they said in their piece, yeah, it's going to run dry. The program runs dry in a little bit. What? No, if you pay out 100% of benefits until 2037 and then you pay 87% of your benefits after that, that requires minor tweaks. By the way, it's a similar thing to Medicare. And every time they come back, they go, oh, Medicare is solvent for another, 15 years or so. But they go, after that, devastation. But then they come back and do another analysis years later and they go, oh, it's still solvent for another 15 years or so. So that always happens. And then again, it's similar with the percentage it ends up paying out. But all you have to do to fix it, by the way, here's one example. Even if you didn't fix it, paying out 87% of its benefits by 2037 doesn't mean it's, quote, bankrupt, as many people say. But all you have to do is raise the cap on the Social Security tax. So right now, you only get taxed for Social Security on your first, $116,000 or so, maybe $118,000 a year. So, in other words, what that means is, let's say there's an eye doctor who makes $118,000 a year exactly. They pay the exact same amount in Social Security tax as Mitt Romney, who made $14 million. The exact same amount. Now you go, what? He made $14 million, they made $118,000. Why would they pay the same amount? Exactly. All you have to do is lift that cap and make make the income taxable, all of it taxable for Social Security, and have Mitt Romney pay the same rate in taxes as the eye doctor who made $118,000, and then it's fixed as far as the eye can see. If he just paid the same rate as opposed to the same raw number, Mitt Romney's only taxed on his first $116,000 for Social Security. Just lift the cap, that's it. You're done. Problem solved. But they would never do that. Instead, they want to privatize it. They want to move it into the private market or just cut it further. It's so frustrating. Trump, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'll tell you what, but if this is a path he ends up going down or attempting to go down, then you're really talking about he ain't getting reelected. There are some sacred cows to everybody in the country. The people, I mean. To Democrats, to independents, to Republicans, to your average Joe Republicans. They might say I'm ultra-conservative, but you go for Medicare, you go for Social Security, all of a sudden they're all Bernie Sanders. They're all socialists. They'll say, what the fuck are you doing with my Medicare, with my Social Security? They won't have it. So we'll see. Hopefully Trump stands up against it and we still vote him out and get in a progressive, get in a Bernie Sanders-like character in 2020. But they're working on him and I hope they don't succeed.